Kathy, please do the roll call.
Mrs. Briscoe? Here. Mrs. Honey? Here. Mrs. Oates? Here. Mr. Andreessen?
Good evening.
Mr. Bush?
Here.
Mrs. McMillan? Here. Mrs. Zelinski?
Here. Okay, please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for all attending and making it to the right location. We did switch our normal meeting at MES, so congratulations on that. For making it here. I myself had the trouble kind of making sure I turned to the right spot too. Muscle memory kind of go to MES. So we're going to start this meeting with our truth and taxation hearing. I declare that the 2023 Truth and Taxation hearing is open at 7:04 p.m. on December 20th. Dr. Shaw will present.
Okay,
Ready?
right. Good evening, everyone. The Truth and Taxation hearing for levy 2023. So the timeline, we started the process back in October with information to the board. The board approved the tentative levy last month's board meeting in November, and tonight we're having the Truth and Taxation hearing. And once the board approves, the levy will be submitted to the county clerk. Our 2023 levy generates money for the 2025 school year. The definitions, some of the definitions we use in the tax levy are on the screen. You can look them up. The presentation is posted on our website. So the first thing we do is we kind of take a look at our budget. So we have our fiscal year 24 budget. So we take a look at the budget, and from the budget we decide what kind of dollars we're going to levy into each of the different funds. We use fund accounting in schools, and each of our funds at the far end are color-coded, green, red, or yellow. Green being right in the sweet spot where we want for board policy of a fund balance between 35 and 65%. The red is the referendum money, but that target is supposed to be zero, so being down by in red is where we want it to be. And then the items in yellow are a little high, so we know that we need to spend down in those fund balances or not put as much revenue in those funds. So we take a look at our budget, and then the next thing that we look at is we say, here's what our levy request is going to be for this year. And when we take a look at our levy request, we do one of the targets that I've been given from the board is to maintain a tax rate. And so when we take a look at this levy, we have a very similar tax rate. We are maintaining transportation levy by design. They've had a high fund balance, so we're maintaining the transportation levy. We did know that we had a little bit of fund balance, high fund balance in our IMRF Social Security, so we lowered that levy amount. And then for information in the O&M fund, so we do have that as one line item when we issue the levy, but it is actually broken down into two different line items in our budget and how we operate with the O&M fund referenda, which is our community support for the schools, to keep our schools warm, safe, and dry, and then our operations. And then our bond and interest from the 2016 bonds is also stable at $545,000. So again, our 2023 levy supports part of this school year and the school year 25. This is what our certificate of tax levy is going to actually look like that we submit to the county clerk. So our total levy is $20,476,000. So when we take a look at our levy this year compared to our levy last year, by school code, if it's above 5% of what we levied for last year, we have to hold a truth and taxation hearing, which is what we're doing right now. This is the truth and taxation hearing. We are at 8.22% higher than last year's. We issue a balloon levy, so we don't anticipate it to be that high, but we do issue it's called a balloon levy, so we make sure that we capture the revenue that's available because we don't have those final numbers until April of next year. A little look at our CPI history, the last 2 years, it's been 7 and 6.5. So we've had a very high CPI the last couple of years. We do know that at the end of 24, right now, we're rolling in about 3.5. So next year it'll come back down to more of the historical averages. And then when we take a look at our tax rate, the priority of the board to me has been maintaining a tax rate. So you can see the last several years that the tax rate through 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22 have all been in the 2.8, following with a couple other decimal points. So what's noticed on this chart is that the brown part got a lot larger and the purple got smaller. So when the junior high was paid off, that was paying debt in the purple. And the brown is our community O&M fund referendum for the maintenance of the school. So the tax rate remained the same, just the purpose of the money shifted from paying off the building to maintaining our buildings. And here's the stable tax rate, so it's also broken down again to see what that tax rate looks like across the different buckets that we put money into. And then we took a look at the rate comparison with the other Lincoln Way High School feeder districts. We took a look at Manhattan, Summit Hill, Frankfort, New Lenox, Union, and Mokena. And Mokena is the tax on the far right, so it is the lowest amongst this entire group. So the impact on a $300,000 house with this tax levy. So the first column is the tax levy on a $300,000 house. The second column is if the house increased in value by CPI or 6.5, what change that would be from last year. If there was no increase in AV, it would actually be a little less in your tax bill. And then at 5%, and then at the balloon levy at 9.8, what that impact was on a $300,000 house. And then just to compare again with the other Lincoln Way feeder districts, a tax extended on a $300,000 house from the levy of 22. The difference from Mokena, the closest at Frankfort for that same house, the tax rate would have a bill of $664 higher, or if you were in Manhattan, $1,400 higher, or Summit Hill, $1,300 higher. So for Mokena residents, the board has been very fiscally responsible and the community very supportive with the levy and the budget cycle. Any questions from the board members?
Okay, are there any questions from the community? None? Any questions from the board members? Okay, I move that the Mokena School District 1 Board of Education close the 2023 truth and taxation hearing. Second by Mr. Andreessen. Any discussion? Kathy, please call the vote.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe? Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan? Mrs. O's?
Yes.
Mrs. Honey?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes. Okay, motion passed. Next, we move on to a couple of nice items, student spotlights. We're going to first start out with our DARE essay winners. McAtee.
Thank you.
Thank you. We had our DARE graduation last week. Great event. Officer Tom and Sarah, thank him again for all that he does for MIS. As part of the DARE program, our students are all asked to write an essay on what they learned throughout the 10 weeks of DARE. You know, we have all 172 students wrote an essay. Officer Tom and I read a good chunk of them. They were fabulous. Our students have become such good writers. It was challenging, but we had to find one winner from each home. So we narrowed it down to those top 7, and out of those 7, we narrowed it down to our top 2. So our 2 school-wide winners are here tonight, and they're going to read their essays for us. So I want to invite up Claire Roberts and Maddie Bernata. Would you come on up, please?
Did you know approximately 150,000 kids have skipped school because of bullying? Even stop out there. There's a police officer left there of lessons, led by one man, Chief Tailgate. They were started in Los Angeles, California in 1983, but was proven so successful that it has been provided in thousands of schools throughout the United States and many other countries. It was first brought to Mokena in 1986 and was the first police station in Will County to provide there. Remember to never fall under peer pressure if you were reporting the bullying. From now, we have a long journey ahead of us. To begin, peer pressure and bullying can cause kids to feel embarrassed or upset. Peer pressure is when people by your age try to get you to do something. Peer pressure can be good, such as influencing facilities during student council, PBS ambassadors, or any other club. Bullying, on the other hand, is all bad. Bullying is an unwanted or aggressive behavior used again and again to isolate, harm, or control another person. In fact, there are 4 types of bullying: verbal, standard, physical, and social bullying. This is so important for my future because, as I said before, many teens skip school because of bullying. Studies show that 6th grade students experience the most bullying, 31%, and 9 in 5th grade. Students ages 12 to 18 who reported being bullied said they thought those who bullied them had the ability to influence others' perception of them, had more social influence, were physically stronger or larger, and had more money. If you see someone getting bullied, be an upstander. Additionally, define, assess, respond, evaluate is the DARE decision-making model. First, define, describe the problem. Next, assess, what are your choices. After that, respond, make a choice. Finally, evaluate, review your decision. The DARE decision-making model helps kids stand up for themselves and think through the options they have in a difficult situation. I will use the DARE decision-making model to make big and responsible choices. Some of the choices I make are deciding whether I should or shouldn't help someone I probably shouldn't, going to someone's house, or going to a party. All of those could make me or another person feel bad. Making someone feel bad is wrong, and some actions could be considered bullying. Would you like to be considered a bully? Finally, that is there. A big thank you to Officer Tom and to Chief Bill Gates, even though he's no longer with us. I wish that I will never ever become a bully. Officer Tom has taught me many things, but 3 that stood out to me are peer pressure, the 5 abilities of bullying, and communicating effectively. I will always use what I learned in DARE, even the things I didn't mention in the segment. Now, our DARE journey is over.
Thank you, Claire. There's Maddie.
Did you know more than 480,000 Americans die from tobacco and smoke-related causes each year? DARE teaches kids how bad drugs are and how to stay away from them in the future. What does DARE stand for? It stands for Drug Abuse Resistance Education. The DARE decision-making model gives us scenarios with kids our age doing bad things and how you would stand up to prepare us if any of that happens. Who started the wonderful DARE program, you ask? Well, Chief Bill Gates made the DARE program in 1983. The program started in Los Angeles, California, with the Los Angeles Unified School District. It was created because Chief Bill Gates and many other people wanted children to be educated about the dangers of drugs and how not to be a bystander when you see bullying and much more. In DARE, I learned a lot of valuable lessons that I can use to help me prepare for the future. A couple that stuck out to me are Lesson 2. This lesson talks about the dangers of alcohol and smoking. Sadly, there are 88,000 alcohol-related deaths each year, and there are a bunch of weird things in cigarettes, like vinegar, sewer gas, rocket fuel, and toilet cleaner. That's just the start of what gross things are in cigarettes. The moral is cigarettes and alcohol are horrible for your body, and not to mention, they're illegal to anyone under the age of 18 or 21. Even if you are of legal age, you still shouldn't do it. Another lesson that stuck out to me was Lesson 4. In this lesson, it teaches us some resistance strategies. If someone is smoking or drinking alcohol underage, and they try to get you to do something bad with them, you have many options. 1, you can avoid the situation. 2, you can hang out with the group so you'll be less vulnerable. 3, you can change the subject. These are just 3 of many ways you can avoid these terrible situations. The DARE decision-making model helps us to make the right choices in bad situations. What is the DARE decision-making model? Define. Describe the problem, challenge, or opportunity. Assess. What are your choices? Respond. Make a choice. Use the facts and information you have gathered. Evaluate. Review your decision. Did you make a good choice? This will help me to make better choices in the future. The DARE decision-making model gives us scenarios where kids our age doing bad things like underage drinking, bullying, vaping, or smoking, and how you would stand up to them. They do this to prepare us if any of that were to happen. In the future, it'll help me to stop and think about a situation before I do anything I'll regret. In addition, if I'm in any situation dealing with cigarettes or alcohol, I'll think about what the reasonable thing to do is. Thanks to the DARE decision-making model, I now know how to make rational decisions. The DARE decision-making model will help me in the future as I interact with my sister. If you know anything about siblings, they can be a bit annoying. Wait, scratch that. They can be really annoying. That often leads to bickering and then fighting. In the future, I'll think about my choices before they escalate into a fight. First, define the problem. We are fighting about what TV show to watch. Next, assess or think over your choices. I could bicker back and forth with her as usual, or I could share the TV. She could watch her show, and then I could watch my show. Then, respond to the problem. I chose to share the TV because I don't want to get in trouble with my parents. Laugh, evaluate, and think over your decision. I believe I made the right decision because my choice led to me and my sister to both get to watch the show together. And we didn't get in trouble by our parents. This is an example of how the DARE decision-making model can help in the future. Overall, I think DARE was a great experience for every fifth grader. We got to learn a bunch of things that will be helpful in the future. The DARE program taught me why tobacco and alcohol is bad for kids and how to stay out of any situation related to them. DARE taught me how to stay calm under peer pressure. It also taught me how to not be a bystander when we see bullying, and much more. The DARE decision-making model helps you to make the right choices, even if it might be hard. I look forward to learning more about this great program. I know these skills will help me in the future. Thank you, DARE.
Off time, you come up, let's get a quick picture.
Congratulations again, Claire and Andy. All right, our second wonderful student spotlight is our Project Lead the Way. Lead Dr. Johnson's intro or introduce it for us.
All right, good evening. This evening we have several students with us representing the Project Lead the Way curriculum that we are in our second year of implementation. Our sixth grade students have been working very hard each quarter on the design and modeling course. Our seventh grade students have been engaged in completing the rest of the design and modeling course they started last year, as well as working within the computer science course. And our eighth grade students that we have here this evening have worked through the computer science course and recently began the green architecture curriculum. And so we've got several students from both grade levels that are excited to share the hard work that they have put into the projects that they have done through the curriculum. Seeing the students' work has been very impressive, and I hope this evening you'll see that not only are they creating things and coding, but there's a lot of intentionality in the design behind the projects that they're going to be sharing with you this evening. So we are super excited to go ahead and get started. I'm going to introduce Mrs. Nancy Miller, who has been our teacher this semester for Project Lead the Way. She has jumped in a couple weeks into the school year and has made sure that our implementation hasn't skipped a beat. So we thank her a lot for her work this semester with the students, but she will take it from here. Thank you, Dr. Johnson.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, school board and administration. Tonight, we will be showcasing some of our students that have volunteered to share their outstanding STEM skills with us. Our project Lead the Way curriculum has guided our students throughout this process. We're going to begin with our sixth graders. Come on up. The first design that we have here, we have Rand that will demonstrate what she created. This is a foot orthosis. Rand.
Many people around the world have had a special condition where they stand on their toes instead of being flat-footed, and we have designed a foot brace to enhance the ability of being able to walk on their feet instead of their toes. What I started with when I first saw the problem is about the ankle, because if the ankle is going to be up, so I thought I had to figure out a way in order to bring it down, which I made a little like surface around it so it can hold the ankle in place. And then for the toe in front, I made the kind of like the front of a shoe. So the toe wouldn't go up, it would stay down and flat. And then I use Velcro to keep it all together, and I use tape, and that's what I did.
Thank you, Rand. Next up, we have Hayden and Patrick, and they are going to be showcasing a Rubik's Cube. They actually created puzzle cubes.
So I made a puzzle cube design because many local furniture stores have a lot of extra wood and they just like throw it away. So we use that to make puzzle cubes for children to learn. So we will solve it for you so you can see a demonstration.
So Hayden, what were some of the requirements that you had for this project?
So we had to make it so it could fit into an actual cube and that we can use it for basically for students to learn with and practice with. So we use the wood and distribute it into 2 or more pieces.
And Patrick, what's unique about your cube?
Eighth grade also had to solve the same problem at the start of the year to finish up the design and modeling course. And we also took data on how fast our classmates could solve our puzzle cubes. And mine was the longest solved with over 4 classes long. My classmate tried to solve it for around 3 hours and 30 minutes. And I had to give him 4 hints of where the pieces were placed before he could solve it.
Would any of our board members like to give it a try? Thank you, guys. Next up, we have our 7th graders. This is also part of the design and modeling curriculum, and they were tasked with designing a therapeutic toy. They had 6 children profiles that they had to choose from. They had to choose one child that had special occupational therapy needs. And the tricky part about this assignment would be what? What would you say the tricky part about this assignment was? Deanna?
I would say the trickiest part about this assignment was actually creating the pieces to go for it. Half of it was 3D printed, but the other half we had to make out of materials we could find around the classroom.
Excellent, yes. They had to tell me which pieces were going to be 3D printed and which they were going to make with materials. So we have Sam, Emma, Gianna, Peyton, and Peyton. We have 2 Peytons. And they're going to showcase what they designed. Sam, would you like to talk about yours?
My design was brought by a child named Daniel who had a problem with pinching. It was called pinchagrass. Without staring at his hand at it, he cannot pinch things or pick up things with just his 2 fingers. I developed the design using 3D printed shapes and a box made of tacky glue, cardboard, and Velcro. For my 3D printed shapes, I included a stick that he could pinch and use to sort the shapes out in different parts of the box.
Emma, could you tell us what you?
The person I chose was Daniel, and he had trouble picking the grass. So I created a box that had 3D printed shapes on it, and you could put the shapes on top, and then when you're done with it, you can open the side and put the shapes back in.
Gianna?
My child had a problem where she had weaker legs than normal. So she was trying to build up her strength to be able to use a walker. So I designed a cart where she is able to hold onto the handle as she pushes it along. And she could put stuff inside of it. So my child also had pinchagrass, and I created a tic-tac-toe board, and the board was used out of the creative objects. The other parts were there, and so she could pick up objects. I did Daniel, and he needed help with his pinchagrass. So his favorite food was chicken nuggets and ketchup. So I made different shapes, chicken nuggets and ketchup that he has to pick up the chicken and put it in a certain shape.
So thank you. Okay, next up we have our 8th graders, and they would like to show off some of their engineering and programming skills. They started out with what's called a microbit kit, and Owen here is going to demonstrate some of the components that come within this kit.
Okay, so we have 5 different colors of these, and they're called alligator clippers. And what they do is they clip to the board, and you can put different inputs and outputs, like a spinning thing, a sensor, and a pressure sensor. And there's also things you can add like lights, and there's stuff that you can make it have an LED bar. And then what I did for mine is I coded it in MakeCode to be able to, when you press A, it gives you a 50% chance of heads or tails. It says H for heads and T for tails. And would anybody like to try?
I was trying it earlier, I thought it was cool. I'm actually really impressed with it.
Thank you.
And then Patrick?
And then what I coded on the Make Code website was there was a tutorial for Flappy Bird, and it took me 3 days, but I coded it so that you could, on the input A, you would make the sprite or the blinking dot go up or down to try and dodge the pillars that were coming at it. And it was actually pretty hard to do so, even with the tutorial. Would anybody like to try Flappy Bird?
Oh, I'm gonna go taste. And I got it. You don't. And then they had to make a game up there talking about it. And that's just Taylor. But I know, right?
Easy version. I need the easy version.
Honestly, I'm just impressed you were able to do all this stuff. And then you're like, oh, you want the easy version? Like, I didn't know if I could mix that. I think the bird goes up and down, the doors have different heights, and I'm trying to like not go too high or something. Is that right? I've never played it, so I kind of know what it is. And the Christmas orders are due by okay. That's really responsible. And I still suck at it, but that is pretty impressive.
So from the microbit kits, some of the students showed some more advanced skills and they wanted a little more challenge. So, hey, why not give it to them? So we have what's called an Arduino kit. All right, these kits are a little different from the microbit kits in which, Philip, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank you.
These are more advanced than the normal ones because they have a lot more components than the other ones. Like there's a breadboard you have to connect, and yeah, and then you have all of your different components, like the liquid LED board, and you can code it to make a lot more advanced stuff than the little kits.
So first up, we have Daniel, who created this project, but he wasn't able to make it tonight. But we were able to get him on video. So let's take a look at Daniel's design.
What's your name? Andy. What's your name, sir? Stuart Radio.
what was your favorite part of this process?
Probably building up the breadboard.
That's very cool.
What he was referring to is these kids, they actually had to build their devices. Whereas with the microbit kids, they kind of had their microcontrollers and that. These, they had to build breadboards and everything, much more intricate. Okay, next up we have Kevin Conlon.
So basically, what this does, it's a wheel that spins. So
Little components, little wires. Kevin, I'm going to have you keep trying to get that connected, and we're going to move on to our next project, which is Connor Mays, and he also could not make it tonight, but we have Philip that's going to fill in for him. But I would like to show Connor's video.
What's your name? Oh, my name is Connor. What did you make today? Today I made a windmill using a battery pack and a motor from our Arduino kits. What was your favorite part of this creation? My favorite part of creation is just like, it was cool to like, see how like fast I had to spin and attaching the blades to it was pretty cool. Okay, could you name any of the components of it? Yes, so here we have a battery pack and a battery switch that helps, transmit the wires and the battery's power into the breadboard. This is the breadboard that all the wires are on. And here are the wires that the motor uses. And right here is a diode, which is used to slow down the spin of the windmill so it doesn't overheat. Okay, could we get a representation of it? Of course we can. Thank you.
Very cool. Okay, and Philip's going to demonstrate it for us. Excellent. Definitely engineer material there. And then next up we have Patrick. Oh, Kevin, are you good? Oh, okay. We have a malfunction or broke. It happens, and they've learned that through this whole process that you can't always rely on that. That's why we have videos. Okay. Next up we have Patrick, and he created a hoverboard.
we all use servo motors to get things to spin, and I used 2 of them tied to a piece of cardboard and then the breadboard, and I used 5 batteries to even get to barely spin because of one of Newton's laws.
So Patrick, what would control this and stop it from spinning like that?
You have to pick it up, and you have to, oh, one of the wires came out. Still spinning though. Do this, you have to grab the positive wire coming from the motorized pinwheel and take it out of the breadboard. And the battery's power coming from all of the batteries taped to the bottom would stop going into the servo motors, which would make it stop spinning, and it stopped.
Well, that is our presentation for today. I'd like to thank the board, Dr. Cohn and Dr. Johnson, for allowing this opportunity for our students to show up what they can do.
All right, thank you for all the students on your presentations. That was very impressive. You see a lot of future mechanical, computer, even some biomedical engineers in the future in the mix. So thank you again. We're going to move then on to public communications. All right, we'll get 5 minutes here for the students to kind of wrap up.
Thanks for coming, guys. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
You probably heard me make a joke about when do I get the Christmas order in. The sponsor of field trip insurance. I think that's something we might come from.
Okay, so we will continue on with our next item, public comment. So we are going to have a slight change from last month. There still is a 3-minute time limit. However, instead of manually tracking the time, we're going to try something new. We have a stopwatch app, I guess, that's going to be on the screen that can hopefully show and identify to people how long they have left, as opposed to just getting a 30-second one. So I try it, see how it goes. Maybe it comes back next month, maybe it doesn't, but we're going to give it a go. So first up is Kevin.
All right, can you hear me? All right, hello everyone, my name is Kevin Oates. First I want to take a minute to give a big congrats to all those kids who worked so hard. Project Lead the way and the winners for the DARE essay contest. Awesome job. Second, I would like to talk about last month's meeting. I was sad and disappointed. See the personal attacks by some of the board members on each other. First, I know all of you are parents who volunteer your time and it's very appreciated. But you gang up on each other and attack each other shows exactly why so many parents do not volunteer their time anymore. It is disgusting. It made me sick to my stomach to sit there and watch all of you attack other people that are on the same board. I experienced it myself. I've been told by others around me that I'm not allowed to talk to certain people because I'm raising money for another group or It's none of their business how we give to shut up, Kevin. It's for the kids. It's just business. You know, fundraising is not just business. It should be parents and kids who get a sense of pride in community by raising money and helping kids and those who need the help. One of the subjects of last month's meeting was about a teacher who supposedly is being investigated by parents. This is not true. There is nobody investigating any teachers. And this is a huge overreaction for a couple of questions on an issue that was brought to the school board by Dr. Cohn. You know, there should be no wrongdoing by simply asking questions. Since when is it wrong to ask a question to try to protect the district from fallout? There's a transition from the school music boosters, and it's transitioning all the payments into the school. There's a lot of confusion that's going on right now, and there's a lot of hearsay, and there is no reason to investigate. We support, as a family, we support the teachers in this area with 100%. I mean, you know, it's just, I'm so mad I'm still shaking. And lastly, the FOIA that was done was a huge waste of time and resources on our district. And the information that was sent out in the FOIA was used to weaponize something on Facebook that never should have been put out in the first place. The person who did that FOIA should be ashamed of themselves. Makes me sick, and I'm sad. And now you know why people don't volunteer around here. Parents want to volunteer, but then they get made fun of or told not to do something. And it's just a shame. And there's my 10 seconds. Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year.
Thanks, Kevin. Next, we will have Jeff Durham.
This is awkward. I don't normally stand when people speaking like this. A little less passionate. But I think I agree for a lot that was said. I think asking a series of questions shouldn't make a board member be attacked. And I think that, sure, in business, you have, at least in my career, you have to live above reproach. Or when I volunteer at my church, there are things you have to do to protect the church, protect the organization. And I think asking questions to protect the district, which is representing taxpayers and the community, there's nothing wrong with that. And if something bad comes from that or somebody looks bad, and I don't even know the whole story, I know parts of it, it's not the fault of the person asking the questions. And I hope that the district will take action so that this doesn't happen again in the future. Because I think people can have really good intentions but make bad decisions. And bad decisions is a slippery slope. So I think I would encourage the board, because I think I've read about all of you wrote this on the website, and you all seem passionate and volunteer a lot and do good things. And I think that you need to protect yourself and the taxpayers. And there's nothing wrong with asking questions. So I don't know the full story, so I can't criticize anybody. I would just encourage the board to take the correct actions and not attack other board members just for asking questions. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Jeff. Next, we will have Ashley Jelly.
Hello, guys. Good evening. I'm here again to speak about an ongoing issue between the music boosters, a music teacher, and 2 school board members. Several representatives of the community, including children, gathered their courage last month to speak out opposing allegations against the beloved Mrs. Hussein. What should have been an opportunity to acknowledge your misguided and imperious behavior and to take some accountability for the grief you have caused turned into you both essentially doubling down and deflecting your actions. Since the last board meeting, I have had the ability to read much of the FOIA. This is far worse than I realized. I want to begin reminding you that Music Boosters is a parent volunteer board, and the school board has no governance over that. If you felt compelled to do your due diligence and report information anonymous parents came to you with, I can respect that. After reading through some of this FOIA, it is clear that your original inquiry was answered and you were told that without substantial evidence and zero response from the outgoing Music Boosters president, despite reaching out to her, that it would not be appropriate to investigate further, based on a rumor or innuendo. At that point, you took it upon yourself to subject Mrs. Bucine to relentless scrutiny over the next several months. I would be hard-pressed to know that either of you would be comfortable with me going into your place of work and asking your boss, peers, and coworkers questions regarding any decision you made over the past year. Decisions, I might add, that were made with the proper protocols in place. She has been forthright from the very beginning. Reading through this FOIA, I felt like I was dealing with my 7-year-old. He's at that immature age where he asks me a question and if he doesn't like the answer, he'll ask it again and again in a different manner until he wears down my sanity and I am mentally defeated. I have had the pleasure of witnessing my 5th grade graduate from DARE last Thursday. I don't remember this from my time, but I really enjoyed listening to the speech winners talk about their experience in DARE program, learning not only about the danger of drugs, but also about bullying. They are being taught at this tender age of 10, bullying awareness, education, and prevention. I'd like to think that bullying is juvenile and something that children grow out of in their formative years. According to the National Center Against Bullying, it is defined as an ongoing and deliberate misuse of power in relationship through repeated verbal, physical, and/or social behavior that intends to cause physical, social, or psychological harm. It can involve an individual or a group misusing their power or perceived power over one or more persons who feel unable to stop it from happening. I feel that this adequately defines what has been transpiring over the last several months. You both have abused your title as school board members and claim it is your duty to investigate any claims brought to you. Where are these anonymous accusers now? Despite being told that these allegations are unfounded and that further action would not be taken without evidence, you then continue to manipulate the narrative to fit your agenda. What are your intentions? What is your end game? You have forced an admired teacher to seek a leave of absence to protect her mental and physical health. You have deprived students from a cherished music teacher and musical director. Mrs. Bucine has always acted in a professional manner with nothing but pure intentions.
Finish your sentence.
I'm sorry, what?
Finish your sentence, please.
Regardless of doing everything she is believed to be honest and right, you have inserted doubt and question into her character and integrity. I urge you, okay.
Sorry. Thank you. Ashley. Next, we will have Linda Kraus.
Good evening. I stand before you as a concerned parent urging the prompt implementation of Policy 6130, the program for the gifted. This is the 4th meeting this year. I've asked the board to implement a policy that is already in place. It is disheartening that this policy designed for our gifted learners remains unimplemented. Policy 6130 is critical for creating an educational program that challenges and motivates our academically advanced students. The urgency for the implementation aligns seamlessly. I'm sorry, can I have your attention, please? The urgency for this implementation aligns seamlessly with the Every Student Succeeds Act, which is a federal act, emphasizing equitable opportunities for all students, including gifted students. I implore the board to prioritize the swift implementation of Policy 6130 for the benefit of our gifted learners. The proposed timeline for an enrichment program which suggests possible implementation in the 25-26 school year is concerning. The school district could expedite the enrichment program timeline, positively impacting many students in the 24-25 school year. Additionally, I propose that the school be empowered to utilize the chosen consultants immediately to serve students who require immediate support to be appropriately challenged. This would address the pressing needs of students and families who have been seeking proper support and educational environment for their children. Now turning to the observed internal conflicts among board members. Recent public displays of aggressive behaviors and conflicts were not only confusing but also disheartening for our community members. I encourage the board to address your internal conflicts privately, fostering a more cohesive and united front as a collective for the betterment of our educational community. As a parent of a student who loves math and consistently seeks challenging questions, I can attest to the enthusiasm and curiosity that many young students have for mathematical concepts. At the last board meeting, One board member who dismissively stated, and I quote, "I never met a second grader who woke up in the morning and wanted to learn math. This language sends the wrong message. Such language not only undermines the principles of respectful discourse, but also disregards the diversity of interests and passions among our students. My son has already been bullied for his mind, and now there are adults who have publicly displayed their disdain for these bright, unique minds. Misunderstandings about the unique needs and challenges of gifted students can lead to adverse effects of their mental well-being. When these children are not appropriately supported and challenged, they may experience feelings of frustration, isolation, disengagement. You heard the students tonight about DARE. The mismatch between their abilities and educational content provided can contribute to boredom, lack of motivation, negatively influencing their mental health. The dismissive attitudes and bullying remarks, as exemplified in the statement, can have profound psychological effects. These children may already face social challenges, and such negative comments further perpetuate feelings of alienation, inadequacy, impacting their self-esteem and mental health. I also have 3 minutes from another person. Furthermore, the board member statement, "I know my role, I shut my hole," is not in line with professional conduct expected in this setting. There are many children present in that meeting. Also, the role of a board member, as I understand it, is in fact the opposite of the statement. The board is the voice of the community and should be directing the administration. It is clear and noted the roles seem reversed. As we aim for an inclusive and respectful environment, I respectfully request the board member to consider offering a sincere apology for the remarks made. Acknowledging and rectifying such comments would demonstrate a commitment to fostering a positive atmosphere moving forward within our educational community. I also encourage the board and administration to prioritize seeking professional development training for yourselves and the administration on the unique needs and understanding of gifted children, and urge them to consider this dimension of mental well-being of children in the community. As I mentioned in the past, up to 30% of gifted children also have a learning disability, which could include autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, anxiety, hyperlexia, and more. In a perfect world, the board would learn from these hurtful remarks, humble themselves, and put in the work to actually learn about these students' needs and why parents are advocating for their children. Now, you may not personally know one of these kids, but you've been elected to represent all students, not just those you know or those you think you already understand. There should be zero tolerance for bullying and aggressive behavior towards parents and students advocating their rights. Feel free to contact me if you're truly interested in the needs of these students. Now, regarding the recent conflicts and heightened attendance at the last board meeting, it's essential for the board to effectively communicate the reasons behind these events. The community is not fully aware of the factors that initiated, perpetuated, and brought about these conflicts. Clear and transparent communication is crucial for fostering understanding and collaboration among board, teachers, students, and community. Let us collectively reflect on these concerns, fostering an atmosphere of open communication, professionalism, and unity. Thank you for your attention to these matters. I trust we can work together to create a positive and nurturing educational atmosphere for all students moving forward.
Linda. Next we'll have Elizabeth Hussett.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Tossick, and I'm a freshman at Lincoln Central. I've had the honor and privilege of having Mrs. Bucine as both a teacher and band director for almost 10 years. Mrs. Bucine always believed in me more than I believed in myself. She gave me confidence as a person and helped me grow as a saxophone player by really investing in me. Last night I went back to MDHS as an alumni to perform holiday stages with the band, which is a long-standing tradition. While I was there, I had several junior high students come up to me and ask me why Mrs. Bucine had not been there. They wanted to know where she was, if she was okay, and when she was coming back. I know this has been very hard on everybody, and I know that I never would have been able to make it through my 8th grade year without Mrs. Bucine beside me. So my heart really goes out to everyone in this situation. I just hope that the current junior high students would be able to experience the same joy that I once did while working with this teacher. Thank you.
Elizabeth. Moving on. Next is Rich Arno.
Good evening. I won't need 3 minutes, so I'm not going to give my time away to anyone else unless they would like it. But I spoke last month regarding the gifted program, and I'll call it the enrichment program. I think it's a more appropriate term. And I noticed that the board has taken this very seriously, and you're going to discuss the enrichment program real soon. I would implore you to move the timeline forward and get the program started in the 2024-25 school year and not wait a year. These are young people, and every year for them is really important. 1 year to them is like 5 years to us. They need it now. And every year, every semester, every month that you wait to start a program is going to hurt them educationally. 10 years ago, I had a neighbor move in next door to me. He hadn't moved in yet, was in the car with his family, and he said, "What do you think about the Mokena School District?" I had some good things to say. He said, "Well, we're moving here because we understand that the district has a marvelous special ed program." They moved in, and they're happy. I would like to run into a family on the street, and if they asked me the question about the gifted program, I don't know what I would say. A year ago, I couldn't say anything. Now I could say, well, they're starting. At least begin to work on it, work quickly, start it earlier so these students can benefit from the education, from that enriched education. One last thing I want to say. I was an educator for 34 years. I'm a graduate of Bremen High School District. If you follow school boards in the area, and you follow the infighting that school boards have and have had, I'm thinking of the Rich District. I don't want to badmouth. I'm thinking of a lot of good things. The Bremen District, nothing good can come about infighting with a Board of Education. You're here for the kids. You're here for the parents. You're here for the community. I don't know any of you personally. You could be the most wonderful people in the world. But you know, I mean, are we taking is this coming from the government? They can't get anything done. Our Republicans and Democrats can't do anything together. So we're fighting. Don't do it. It's for the kids. Thanks.
Okay. Rich, next up is Aaron Min.
Good evening. I am Erin Min, and besides being a parent in the district, I've been serving as a trustee of the Mokena Community Public Library District Board for about a year and a half. I have spent a lot of time reading Mokena's school board policy and documents over the years. I also grew up in a household where my dad was an alderman who was a great example of helping the public connect with who they needed to get their concerns addressed, as well as advocating for the people living and working in our area. I have a good grasp of what healthy communication looks like, what getting things done and adjusting to needs of the community can look like, as well as how things can get ugly when toes are stepped on and people are held accountable. One of the main goals in the district's strategic plan is improved communication. This is something that was identified in the survey as important, yet lacking. Some of the steps have revolved around transparency from the district to the public. I applaud what has already been done in the past year, and for continued future improvements. A healthy board is one that's on top of things. They are not just giving the go-ahead to whatever board is presented to them. They are proactive, not reactive. They are aware of the plethora of programs, concerns, curriculum that is going on in the community. I paraphrased, and now I'm quoting from the school board policy. Communicating the school's activities and operations to the community and representing the needs and desires of the community in education matters. Engagement and discussions are important. One of the core values of Mokena 159 is that all members of the community, all members of the school community should be respectfully and actively engaged in the learning process. Is it safe to say that the school community includes teachers, board members, students, the public? If so, what does that look like in board meetings? I'm happy to see the members of the community, including 159 graduates, share their thoughts and concerns. The November board meeting did turn into ugly though, and other parents have said the same. Instead of continuing to point fingers, trying to bully someone to quit the board or teaching, or to stay in their lane and quiet down, I encourage everyone to talk more and be more open to transparency. I would love to see more people understand and respect each other, as well as more ideas being taken seriously. There are many people in the community and on the board with developing knowledge and experience that goes to waste if not encouraged to engage. On another note, I hope that tonight the board approves going ahead with Northwestern's Center for Talent Development to begin a process in January of evaluating and helping implement more encompassing enrichment program in 159. I want to thank everyone working in, volunteering for, or whatever ways benefiting the school district, and wish you a wonderful time with fun and family music.
Great. Thank you, Aaron. 3 minutes exactly. It's impressive. Jen Daly's next.
All right, I'm gonna try to get it under the buzzer here. If there's one thing I really, really can't stand, it's the throttling of the Mokena music program for some stupid outside political purpose. For the people who haven't been around forever, the inside joke on that is there's no joke. I really do hate that. And it's exactly what we had to fight against over and over and over again for almost 10 full years. Attacking one of the program's teachers, though, I have to say that's a new low even with that history. Time's not going to allow me to tell those stories tonight, but I really wish I could. I really want you guys to understand the real scope of the damage you're doing here. I wish I could tell the stories, because I've got some good ones. I mean, who doesn't love that one about the time me and Karen and some of the other music parents got blackmailed by the superintendent to fight for a referendum nobody wanted 3 times. And then it got crazy. That's a good story. Maybe I'll come back. People are starting to forget that in 2009, we let something really, really toxic into the district. And though the original source was drummed out of town pretty quick, may she rest in peace, it took 10 years. It took a good 10 years to get that toxic back out. God, we have to remember those stories. We have to not let it. We have to not. But tonight, since I have a time limit, I want to talk about the music boosters. Evidently, the same brand of toxic that brought down the music boosters. I've never seen that level of destruction happen in such a short time. I struggle to believe that anybody could be that incompetent to do that kind of damage. It really looked like a hit job. They did not. They can't. Anyways, they can't have valid meetings anymore. They were left so high and dry with only one board member and altered bylaws that made it impossible to elect more board members. It was destruction. I mean, I went to the meeting last night. It broke my heart last month. And the poor guy they put in charge of treasurer actually literally put his hands up at one point and said, "We're sorry, we're trying." They snuck out in the middle of the night. They left us no records. They changed the bylaws. We're trying, but we can't tell how much money we have. No, not how much money they're supposed to have. They can't tell how much money they have. That's how bad of a job these people did. That's not suspicious at all. Fortunately, the people, doing that weren't enough to
they couldn't do any permanent damage. So that's all gonna be fixed. But why, I read a lot of emails. I have Lori Cohen in 3 minutes as well. Why are we really supposed to believe, not even, why in all those minutes, in all those emails I read, why did people that supposedly spent 6 months investigating, the stuff in the boosters and talking about these people in the boosters, how come they never mentioned the disarray the boosters were in? I can't figure it out. Why is it so important to cover it up? And then I did figure it out. All the problems in the boosters, all the complaints against Karen, everything is all resting on the same single point. It's the same single person. I don't understand, I see a bigger agenda here. I don't understand why it was so important when, people are told over and over, there's nothing to these accusations, there's nothing to these accusations. Why do they keep going on? It's not going to, listen, I see the agenda, I don't have the time or the energy to care about it, but you have to lay off the team. You have to lay off. You have to lay off the program. They've been through too much of this stuff. I mean, I can tell this stuff isn't even about Karen. But you can't tell that to Karen. Karen has been so damaged by the last time we tried to hold the whole program and half the school up while it fell down around us. She's got PTSD from that. She's miserable. And there's no reason for it. Last month, when 40 people said, hey, I think you're wrong about, and to varying degrees of passion, I'll admit. They said, hey, you're wrong about this. She's not like that. You've been told over and over again that there's nothing to all these things you keep accusing. Anybody at that point in the meeting, anybody that was really after the best interest of the children, would have stood up at that point and said, you know what, I'm sorry, we made a mistake. And they would have moved on. But yes, I sent all, the FOIAs. Why double down the next day and keep going with the same thing over again when it's not going to hold up? I just don't get it. You got to lay off the program. You got to lay off the teachers. You have spent at this point, and I FOIA'd this too, the equivalent of the entire Music Booster annual budget on asking the lawyer silly questions about reinventing the wheel. That's not fiduciarily responsible. I don't want to see toxic take over this district again. I don't want another disaster. You have to lay off the teacher. The program, this would have been only the 3rd year this program would have been allowed to continue as full since 2010. That's how many times people have messed with it. Pick something else to pick on. It's enough. Thanks.
Any last public comment? So we will move that on to MTA.
Mr. Board President, I have a question. I signed in before, but I signed in on the sign-in sheet, not really realizing there was a separate piece of paper. Would you allow the last comment?
See why not? I mean, we haven't
Thank
started,
you.
we haven't moved on, sorry.
I apologize. Thank you. Sorry.
Hello, and thank you for allowing me the time to speak. I'm Tessa Quinlan, a parent of 3 students that are here, that are and were students in Mokena. A part of me wishes I came last month to speak tonight to gather the audience attention that never seems to get for special service students. But as we all know, special service sometimes fails to gain the attention and support from families when speaking up and advocating for our children, due to a list of reasons that keep them from coming. This is one of those moments that we can use your help. As a board member, as mentioned last month, the oath you took states, I shall strive to work together with the district superintendent to lead the school district toward fulfilling the vision the board has created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills, knowledge, citizenship, and personal development. I'm here tonight to speak of what compels me to speak up. Although my special needs son may have graduated from Mokena Junior High years ago, and under different circumstances. He did have an amazing experience here at Mokena, but that didn't happen without some intervention on my part. But I do find that speaking up was never the hard work, it's the follow-up. I have individually spoken with some of you on the board on issues that I hear from families monthly from over the last few years. I have shared my thoughts, past, present, and will continue to do so in the future. I'm an adult where I know how to compromise or respectfully agree to disagree, but understand that personal reflection and evaluations are important. After reading Ms. Volpe's report, it makes me happy to know that she has started this open communication process amongst all staff. As a mom whose son has a one-on-one para, even to this day, it's great to know that these discussions included them. They become family quick and know our children just as best as we do as their parents. So the idea of trying to close the gap of lost communication is satisfying. I do hope from Ms. Volpe's time here, when her recommendations are presented, I am asking that you ask questions now as well as later to gain your best understanding of special services so that you can be fully educated as best as possible when it's time to research a new hire. As a board member, asking questions should be seen as getting educated or knowledgeable about a topic that you may have little to no knowledge about. We all have our specialty in areas that some may not. So like I told my own family way back when my son was first diagnosed with this syndrome, ask me. I'd rather be asked to provide an answer, and if I don't have an answer, I'll find one. Because by me doing that, not only did I educate them, but I continued my education on my son and his diagnosis. We cannot blame anyone but ourselves when we don't know the full truth about a topic we know nothing about. So I'm asking all of you to start asking questions on a topic of student special services to allow yourselves a better understanding on a topic that you may know little to nothing about. Again, I ask this tonight so that when Ms. Volpe does come to the table with her recommendations, as she stated last board meeting, you will have a better understanding as why she suggested what she does. I know we can do that. We are Mokena. We have the best support staff, teachers, paraprofessionals, and I just want Mokena to be on the board for exemplary status. Thank you.
Good evening. This comes directly from the Illinois Association of School Boards website. Sometimes members of the community contact a school board member with concerns, suggestions, and questions. This may be appropriate when discussing district-wide policy. Often, however, the matter is outside of the individual board member's role and authority and must be referred to the superintendent or other staff. For a school concern, the best place to begin is with those directly involved. The teacher for a student-related or classroom concern, for example, or the principal regarding a school regulation or practice. If the first point of contact is unclear, contact the district office for guidance on the appropriate chain of command. As was mentioned at our November meeting, the chain of command was not followed. Part of the board member oath, I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote at a public board meeting. Yet within a FOIA of Mrs. McMillan's emails that again ended up in my hands, she writes the following hope, that the board would insist the administration investigate, not question, investigate any and all claims of misconduct by employees timely and in writing with the investigation report presented to the board and the complainant formally responding in a timely manner. In correlation with this, an additional hope is that the board insists the administration get any and all legal advice from the attorney in writing and it be offered to any interested BOE member at any time. You also hope that the board insists that they lay out the corrective measures they will take to address ongoing issues with the music department, including but not limited to budget for the music program, field trip process, negotiation of contracts, interactions with music boosters, which again, someone brought up is a parent-run program. These hopes and your comments in previous FOIA emails give the perception that you feel you have a significant role in being the investigator and punisher of our educators. These emails and your comments at the previous board meeting do not align with what is listed under the category of a good school board member on the Illinois Association of School Board website. One of which is the recognition that the school district is a large operation and the board is responsible for seeing that the district is run by highly skilled professionals. We certainly have those highly skilled professionals here in Mokena 159. The MTA insisted that you course correct the last time we stood here. And we are surprised we have to ask this again tonight. Please know that there is a danger of the talent in these buildings leaving and those outside of the community never onboarding with us if the perception is there is no trust in our educational staff here at Mokena 159. Thank you to the board members who have put their trust in us and who have consulted and collaborated with us throughout the years. Thank you for the leadership you have shown. You exemplify what it is to be a leader when I think of one of my favorites, RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and her following quote: "Fight for the things you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you." And now I would like to welcome the fifth grade team, Sharon Horvath and Carrie Dabblehoff, to talk about fifth grade and the art program.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sharon Horvath, fifth grade teacher at MIS, and I'm just going to give you a little update on what we've been doing so far this year. So in math, the students are beginning Module 4, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing fractions. The math team will continue to develop CER questions and implement them weekly. I am not good with acronyms, so I'm going to explain. CER stands for Claim Evidence Reasoning for Mathematically Proficient Students. Claim is the answer to the problem. Evidence is showing their work. Reasoning is steps that were taken to get the answer or the claim. Students are progressing well with CER. In January, students will begin preparing for IAR testing. Karen Youngblood is helping the team to develop problems and practice that will help students to prepare for the testing. In science, students spent the whole semester focused on the watery planet, which is the importance of the water cycle, web of life, which is focused on food chains, food webs, and the domain-specific vocabulary, and lastly, spaceship Earth, which is the focus of the Earth's rotation, seasons, moon phases, solar system, and gravity. Fortunately, the web of life in our new EL Education Module 2, Biodiversity in the Rainforest, resulted in cross-curricular learning for our classes. In January, social studies will begin. As I mentioned, the students are currently learning and reading about the rainforest in ELA. Our overall guiding questions for Module 2 are: why do scientists study the rainforest, and how do authors engage readers in narratives? We took a field trip to Brookfield Zoo 1 week ago to see the rainforest animals up close and personal. It was a beautiful December day, sunny, warm, and the kids had a lot of fun, and the teachers got a lot of great shots of the rainforest animals. When students return from winter break, the focus will be on the performance task, which is the final project for this module. The photos taken from the trip can be used in an ebook that pairs will create. Students will be using My Storybook as a tool to help them meet all of their goals for the task. The final ebook will be a collection of photos that make the book visually appealing, and 3 first-person narratives, which will focus on including concrete language and sensory details to engage the reader. I am personally excited to see the final books. Finally, I want to thank Officer Tom. He just left. For educating the students and guiding them to be good decision makers. Thank you to everyone who came to the DARE graduation ceremony and who support the program. You heard our 2 great essay winners, but we are so proud of all of our 5th graders for completing this rewarding and beneficial program.
Hi, I'm Carrie Dabblehoff. and I'm another teacher at MIS. Vicki Niger could not be here. She's the music teacher, but mine's going to be short, but we're really excited. We want to do, we've been talking about it a lot. We want to do a fine arts fair in the spring at MIS where we can showcase, the kids can each pick, for me, a piece of artwork that they can showcase. She's talked to students already about maybe coming and playing, and I'm thinking of having some of the students, you know, do some hands-on type things. So we are in the works of that. Just wanted to give you an update. We're really excited. We want kids to be able to show, you know, what they do in the arts. So yeah, that's in the works right now for us.
Thank you to the fifth grade teachers for the update. Next up is MCSA. Okay, we move on. MEF. Okay, PTA.
Good evening. My name is Erin. I'm one of the officers with the PTA. I just wanted to kind of rehash some accomplishments the PTA has made thus far in the school year. We have 147 members of the PTA, which is more than double for the members from last year, which has given us a designation of excellence by the Illinois State PTA. We've been awarded a grant by the National PTA of $1,850 to be used for a Ready Tech Go program, which we'll be implementing at the elementary school level this spring. We've doubled our fundraising efforts in the first half of the year, which is allowing us to host events in the schools at no charge with the goal of eliminating future fundraisers for the rest of the year. We are actively seeking more member engagement. We really want parents to come to our meetings and give us some ideas on how to get parents back into the schools. And I don't know if you guys have seen the Grinch Pizza thing we have going on tonight was last night. That turned out to be a huge success. And it was never meant to actually be a fundraiser. It was really just meant to be something fun for the community. We ended up raising over $500 just based on the kickback from Aurelio's Pizza. They donate 20% back. So that ended up being a really fun event. Aurelio's on board to do this again next year and actually make it a larger event so that more people can participate. We do have a member survey that is in the Friday, or not a member survey, we have a survey out that's in the Friday updates. We're really seeking some feedback. That does close this Friday, so hopefully everybody can give us some feedback. I have one other thing I would like to add. I'm speaking on behalf of myself as an officer of the PTA. I would like to bring a matter to the attention of the board after an incident that occurred at our monthly member meeting last week. A member of the BOE came to our meeting with the intention of publicly criticizing and falsely accusing the current officers of violating bylaws and not adhering to the outlined budget. It is inappropriate to do so as a BOE member and also as a former president of the PTA to incite skepticism in such a public forum. All matters asserted by this member of the BOE were verified with the Illinois State PTA, which is our governing body, to indeed be false. This type of behavior does not encourage engagement in our schools. The current officers of the PTA are working tirelessly to re-engage parents in our schools and community, as we know that students with the best academic outcome have parents who are engaged in their education. The member of the BOE spoke out against our mission as a PTA, which is disheartening and discouraging and not the example we should set forth. I would like to also add, this type of behavior seems to be accepted. This was witnessed at the last BOE meeting where community members openly attacked BOE members attacked each other, and the president of the BOE failed to maintain a respectful and productive meeting. I hope in the future this type of behavior can be avoided.
for everyone. We are all working tirelessly. I think we all have the overall mission to make our schools a great, supportive place. I appreciate you all. Appreciate all of your hard work, and you all have a happy holiday. Thank you.
Alright. Up this Board of Education.
Okay. I first like to thank the MTA for continuing to bring the teachers from each grade level. I absolutely love that. Please take pictures with Scholarhawk. I'd like to see what the students come up with. We all participated in a joint annual conference a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now. And if anyone's interested on some of the things that we got to experience there, I did include a write-up on that in the board packet. I'm just kind of being retentive, and I wrote it down, and I thought the community would want to know what I participated in. I was able to go to the DARE graduation. It's one of my favorite things to see the kids accomplish. It was also great to see Mr. Everett there. He has been a champion of this program for 35 years, so it was really great to see him continue that. And now I'd like to take some time, now that some time has passed since the last meeting. I feel I owe the community a response to last month's meeting, since it's the community who entrusted me to be here. So I am going to take some time to correct some inaccuracies brought forth at that meeting. First, despite the group's contention, asking questions is part of my job. I'm not asking questions to investigate, attack, accuse a teacher, anyone on an issue. That idea is based on the false notion that questions equate to accusations or attacks. They don't, they're questions. I ask questions to better understand issues and to form an opinion. The few questions I asked, and I have dates from the emails if you would like to see the 2 emails. I asked questions to better understand the issues, to form an opinion, and the few questions I asked directly corresponded to issues brought to the board's attention in June. Those concerns came from the community to the superintendent and to the board. And I followed up on those. I'm going to say that again. My questions did not come out of thin air. It was an issue brought to us, and I asked questions. I am not accusing somebody. I felt it was my duty to ask questions. Second, booster organizations are supposed to be run as separate organizations, not affiliated with the schools. They should run themselves. Agreed. That is what our policy and good practice dictates. But then we've seen those waters be muddied by district employees not specifying any employee when finances get involved and employees get involved and there's questions surrounding that. It's in direct conflict of district policy 890. Policy is what the board has to watch out for. So clearly there's confusion, so I asked questions. On a parallel path, I also discussed, developed, and suggested a one-page handout back in August that provided guidelines or best practices for how non-affiliated groups interact with the school to help minimize these types of issues. So I asked questions, saw that there were concerns, and then I developed some suggested guidelines so we can help prevent these issues. That document received no support from the board. Next, I've been a music booster member for 3 years. I have volunteered for events, participated in fundraisers, but rarely attended meetings. And when I do, it is always as a parent, not representing the board in any way. This is not a novel concept, since we have other board members who have done the same thing for years. One even signed a contract on behalf of the boosters, so it can be done and it has been done. Its acceptance just seems to depend on which board member it is. After I asked a couple questions about a field trip at a booster meeting in September, a grievance was brought against me as a board member, despite not one person expressing a concern at that meeting. Again, a grievance brought against me as a board member after a meeting at a separate, non-school event. Regardless, I immediately asked to speak to leadership and the MTA so we can clear up any issues. The response I got, why? We already know what happened. Why would I not want to face my accusers and try to resolve the issue? The novel concept seems to be sitting down to discuss an issue with all parties involved. After several requests, I finally got to sit with the MTA over a month later, and I sat and listened in disbelief about how I'm a disappointment to the teachers and how I don't support teachers, all for asking questions. Nonetheless, we ended the meeting with a commitment that we move forward. Instead, days later, I was publicly attacked with a message that I'm badgering. And if it happens to one, it can happen to all. That is not true, and I won't let that stand. I love our teachers, I asked questions, and that's it. I'm not looking to investigate anybody. If an issue comes up, I'm gonna ask questions. Further, after the grievance, I asked our leadership for access to the board attorney. The response was, why? This is a personal issue. Perhaps you can see my confusion. Which is it? Is it a separate organization that should be handled personally, or is it now a board and district issue? Again, it seems to depend on the board member that's asking. Needless to say, I have never been afforded 1 minute of time with our district attorney. Instead, I had to seek out my own representation at my own expense. Finally, I did not, and I have never discussed these issues in any public forum, especially Facebook, and to suggest otherwise is another manipulation of the truth. I have no idea who made the posting that was discussed at the last meeting, but I know it wasn't me. Further, the way I found out about the posting was from somebody sending me a screenshot of it, and I immediately called our superintendent and sent him the screenshot, making him aware. So for people to come here and suggest I had anything to do with it based on pure speculation to fit their own narrative is appalling, especially after we committed to move forward. We need to rebuild the trust. I stand behind my commitment to move forward and to trust. We have become a society of anger, refusing to have civil conversations, try to understand each other's opinions, and stand by our own word. Instead, we've become a society that wants to take people down as loud and publicly as possible, and it needs to stop. I will continue to remain objective and ask questions, especially if I have concerns that policy has been or could be broken, if the school can face any exposure, or if any student has been or could be affected. Questions are just that, questions, not accusations, not a formal investigation, and not a formal attack. One more point that needs to be made is concerning the individual who approached me as I stood alone outside during last month's meeting break. That person said, unless I, quote, stop asking questions and stop talking to a certain board member, they will be back and they will
annihilate me. Let me be clear. Since the moment I was elected, I've offered and continue to offer to talk to any board member, or anyone for that matter. Are we really content with modeling that kind of behavior for our kids? Don't talk to this person or I won't support you? Part of the board's oath says, I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members. It doesn't say if I like this board member or that board member, or if I agree with that board member or that or not. It says encourage and respect the free expression of opinion of all board members. If you can't uphold that, then you shouldn't be here. This person also made a point to mention my husband, saying they will leave him alone for now. And she also made a point to mention my children. If you want to attack me without ever meeting me, fine, you keep my family out of it. The quest to make me the enemy is shameful. Congratulations on creating further division and creating a place where people may feel that they can't even bring up an issue for fear of public humiliation and retaliation. I will continue to make myself available to anyone that would like to talk. I love my schools and my community, a community I've been a part of for over 40 years, and I will continue to do my very best for both. Thank you.
Any more comment?
Okay. Good evening. So I want to start by thanking our MIS staff and the music department for the concert last week. It was my first concert experience, and my daughter is new in band, and so it was exciting, and I was impressed. So well done, everybody, on that. And I'm sorry I missed the DARE graduation. I was bummed to have missed it, but impressed by the kids that came today and the message, more importantly. I also want to thank our staff for the planning and preparation that they put in for this week. I know the kids and parents are very excited for the fun activities, and countdowns on 2 more days, 2 more sleeps, so that's great. As Julie did, I want to follow up and address our school community about what was conveyed last month at the November Board of Education meeting. I know a lot of people were confused about what was going on. People reached out to me asking what was happening and said they felt in the dark. I'm an advocate for transparency. That's what I expect as a taxpayer in Mokena, and that's what I want to deliver. Which is why I do a lot of my board member work via email and ask questions at open meetings. Some people do not agree with that strategy, but that's how I operate. In October, there was a FOIA, which is a public records request for emails between Julie and I and Dr. Cohen. Last week, there was a second FOIA, public records request, for all of my school board emails since October 10th. Our FOIA officer is Ms. Kathy Height, and her email address can be found on our district webpage under the Freedom of Information page. The files that were responded in that FOIA request are public information, and anybody can access those files. The only thing you have to do is email Ms. Kathy Height, and she will send you those files. So I would encourage anybody interested to look at the work I've done since I've been on the board. Just email Kathy Height, ask her for the files, and you can read for yourself. The majority of the work I've done is contained within those files. We used to publish our FOIA requests and the responses on our website. At some point since I got on the board, that was removed. So I would like the board to reconsider adding it back to our website to make it easier for the public to see what is requested and what our responses are. I want to make it easy. For those of you that don't know, the Board of Education members usually don't interact with teachers. We are instructed to direct all questions to Dr. Cohen and follow the chain of command. He is our only point of contact typically. I want to let everybody know that I have not interacted with or directed board business-related questions to teachers. All of my questions are sent to Dr. Cohen. On September 19th, I attended a Music Boosters meeting as a parent of a student in the band. I asked a couple of questions to the entire group about how we get insurance from a bus provider we were paying to take kids downtown on its choir field trip, and about the communication that went out to parents. The reason I asked those questions was because I had just recently read that the district's insurance does not cover field trips of outside groups, so I was concerned. I was just curious to make sure that the boosters were covering that. After the boosters meeting, I was told that the Mokena Teachers Union complained about me as a board member because people thought my questions were intimidating and threatening. I do not think that was the case at all. I did not raise my voice. I did not blame anyone. I directed my questions at an entire room of people, not one or two. Regardless, I apologized immediately to the people filing the complaint and the Mokena Teachers Union in writing and explained that that was never my intention. I thought we moved on. That one occasion was the extent of me being in the same room as teachers while asking questions. That is the extent to which my questions were directed to anyone except our superintendent. The narrative complained at our last Board of Education meeting simply did not happen. I have no idea how questions I asked our superintendent turned into me harassing a teacher. I've never spoken with a teacher about anything. My interactions were only with our administration. I was not harassing or battering a teacher. I never accused anyone. I did not forward privileged board member email to the media or make a Facebook post. I said that at the last meeting. All of that is not true. Not true. To date, I have not heard or seen one detail about how I harassed or badgered or accused a teacher. I have asked and I have received nothing. The situation continues to escalate since our last board meeting. Back in June, a group of parents brought concerns to Dr. Cohen about music-related spending. They provided some documentation, including receipts, which I have since then seen. Initially, I made no judgment on the subject, except I felt it was our duty to investigate it. I am not a judge or a jury, and no one sitting at this table is. I asked for it to be investigated and suggested it be done by a third party to ensure objectivity, considering the personal relationships that seem to exist. The truth is, the investigation did not happen. It never happened. I've seen companies suffer from treating employees differently. I do not believe in different strokes for different folks, especially when we're talking about the public's money. I think we have a duty to always investigate allegations against a staff member. I stand by what I said. We should have a standard procedure that dictates what we do, when we do it, and how we do it. And we do not have that. I want this board and our administration to make good decisions that protect our district objectively. When I sensed that was not the case, I challenged it. When my questions were not answered, I followed up. When a group of parents reported concerns to Dr. Cohen, when they sensed our administration did not act, approached multiple members of the board, not just myself. They feared retaliation against their kids after what was on display last month. I can certainly see why. Parents felt there was wrongdoing that our administration failed to address, so they came to members of the board. That's how it works. I quickly came to understand that while the Music Boosters is a parent organization, it does not work like other parent organizations. It does not work like the PTA. For example, the boosters were collecting fees from students that should have been paid to the district. PTA does not do that. The boosters were collecting fees, the boosters had access to student data. The PTA does not. The boosters were charging rent for instruments owned by the district. We had our students build a set with Street of Dreams in this building without authorization, which Dr. Cohen said he shut down as soon as he found out. I think that's a testament to whether it was acceptable or not. Those are just some examples of things I was asking about. I wanted things fixed. I wanted to come up with a plan. I did not want to make this public, and I did not do that. Other people did. I even suggested last month, let's just lay it out and make a plan. Even after getting publicly attacked, I continue to get ignored, lied to, and blamed. I will not apologize for listening to the legitimate concerns of parents after they tried getting it addressed by the administration. The public can see what Julie and I are up against, and I want you to know I will not be intimidated. I will not be party to sweeping things under the rug, even when I'm getting publicly attacked and fear retaliation on my own 3 children that go to the schools. I will be there for our parents. I will not compromise my own morals and values as a board member. I will not let my personal relationships or allegiances impact my ability to be objective. I came onto this board with positive intentions, an open mind, and ready to get to work. From day one, I was met with resistance and opposition to virtually anything I said. It's been 7 months now. I suggested we do a food service review so that we could get staff and students more nutritious food. It was ignored and used against me. Simple suggestions, like looking at people when they're speaking at a board meeting, or responding to parents' emails in a timely manner, ignored and opposed. I've had multiple concerns about legal exposure to the district, none of which have been brought to our attorney. I do not speak to our attorney. I do not have access to our attorney. The board president and the superintendent are the only people that can speak to our attorney. There was one exception. I timed it. I was on the phone with him for 14 minutes, and that was it. I agree. I do not believe the board is acting in the best interest of students and staff right now, which makes me very sad and mad. I think our board is allowing personal relationships to influence decisions, which was visually and verbally demonstrated last month. We do not treat each other respectfully or professionally, which is an embarrassment. This was on full display for our community, and I hope we can prioritize fixing it. I would close by saying, again, my door is open. I encourage members of our community to contact the Board of Education to voice your concerns and give us your feedback. I know people may not think that we want to hear from you, but I'm telling you, I do. I hope you show up at our meetings. I hope you engage. I know we have a lot to be grateful for, and I can recognize that, and I appreciate that. I also know we have a lot of opportunities to get better, and I hope that's what we choose to do. I hope we choose to work together in a respectful way for the good of our students. I'm ready to do that. But if people are not able to move forward in a positive, respectful manner, I think they need to reconsider why they're sitting. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Joint annual conference debrief. Does anyone want to discuss conference? Okay. Board committees. I sent the board an email out earlier this week. Last month we did approve the board policy committee start, but haven't got any feedback from the board on that. I made a proposal. Here's your thoughts on that.
So you're talking about the policy committee?
Yes.
Okay, I think considering the number of policies I have identified, I don't know if other people have looked at that, but I can tell you personally, I've identified a large number of policies that I don't know how we're executing. I think we need to prioritize this and have it monthly, at least for the next 12 months until we roll through the entire manual.
Any other thoughts?
I can't tell you this is
There it is. One of the things that all of the sessions at the joint annual conference that I attended really had a consistent theme about reviewing policy, monitoring your policy, making sure that everything is up to date. So I would support having more frequent policy meetings just for this first go-through of it, because it's been a while, and we can establish and kind of dole out who can be responsible for which sections, because it's a big project, but I think it's a worthy one. And then once you go through the initial kind of just run through broadly, then it can certainly be something that you only have to do on an annual basis, and ensure that things are updated as needed. So I support more frequent meetings, and then move to either annual or biannual after that.
Any other discussion on the committee? All right, hearing none, I guess we'll move on. We tabled last month, we tabled the parent-teacher advisory. I've not heard anything back from any of the board members on that topic either. So I don't know if we're going to table it again.
Well, I continue to support having this committee in some fashion. I put a straw man proposal forward. Again, I'm not wedded to it. I think it's imperative that we all have the opportunity to talk with our community. I think the simplest solution is to utilize the parent advisory committee that's already established and just make that run like the finance committee, and open it so it's not limited to only 2 board members, and the community can come in and listen to what is being discussed. If that's not acceptable, then the straw man proposal that I had offered is another alternative. But it is, again, a committee that we say we have in our policies. So I would really like to see that, especially for more community engagement. Thank you.
I would agree. I think, though, I agree with what Julie said. I think though that the missing piece for me is the teachers. I think having the teachers be part of that group is vital to have that forum with the community and the parents and teachers and board members. And I want to also bring up something again that I brought up last month. I think the Board of Education should compensate teachers for serving on Board of Education committees. So if we are going to have teachers serve on our finance committee, I think they should be compensated, same as any other board committee as we vote them in. So just want to offer that.
Okay, any other discussion on it? Okay, hearing no other, we'll move on. Dr. Cohen?
Junior report, short and brief, as my voice is kind of fading in and out. I was at ISB committee, it's one of the sections I attended that had concern, and it has to do with the state deficit that's approximately $1 billion for FY. Federal money has been basically keeping the state budget afloat for the last couple of years. They've committed to evidence-based funding. They've committed to continue to add $350 million additionally to EDF each year. Now, while that is a noble effort to equalize spending across the state, we don't necessarily benefit. Yeah, we only get about $28,000 annually from EDF. It's just that $350 million additional money goes to districts that have far smaller tax bases than what we do. However, if there continues to be stress on the state budget, my concern is that we fall back into proration, which, for example, transportation funding was delayed and prorated in the past when the state would get into trouble. Pension issues were kicked down the road. And, there's been talk about shifting it's come up and it's been, sort of killed multiple times, but I have mentioned about shifting the state's pension responsibility on the local school districts. We'll have to see what the next sessions hold. Down the state right now, our commissioners costs for stable funding, no additional mandates. But we get about 20 mandates a year. So we'll just have to see what happens downstate. Other than that, the other thing I want to mention, on January 9th, there will be, as part of the statewide weekly message, Mokena schools from 59 will be highlighted for its use of ESSER funds to improve student achievement. Of particular note in the article is the expansion of our STEM curriculum pilot project Delay and how we use funds to purchase the equipment to get the program off the ground, but also the extensive work we've done with PLA to purchase classroom library materials, several years worth of professional development and foundational skills, etc. So I'm very happy to see that the efforts we've made here try and take that one-time infusion of cash and put it to leverage it in a way which is going to have benefits far beyond the actual expenditure itself. So glad to see that we're being recognized for that and kind of give it a little bit of a spotlight. That concludes my report.
Any questions, Dr. Cohen? Okay. Dr. Johnson?
My December report for the month of December, I provided an update as I do every month regarding the professional learning that took place at our early release day last week. I have also provided for you some information regarding where we are in our 6th through 8th grade ELA pilot, as well as a little bit of, again, celebration. We did have 3 school districts out within our Mokena schools over the past few weeks, observing the wonderful things we're doing in our classrooms with technology, our new curriculum, as well as our phonics curriculum that we implemented last year. So I did want to personally thank the teachers, and I did include them in my report. Mrs. Barr is out there. She hosted one of our teachers last week for opening up their classrooms and continuing to foster that collaboration with districts across the area. So thank you. In addition, we do have an action item on the agenda this evening regarding the hopeful approval of the partnership with Northwestern University and their Center for Talent Development as a consultant that we would be working with to continue our work with Strategic Plan Goal 1C, which is specific to the advanced learning opportunities that our district offers. The memo that I did attach to the action item provided a lot more in-depth information regarding the process that we have gone through over the past few months to get to the point of this recommendation, as well as specific deliverables that we would be looking for as a result of this partnership. I did also include a cost proposal that's included with the work proposal so you can specifically see what we would be committing to with this partnership this spring. The partnership, as you can see in the timeline, would begin after we get back from winter break, where we would begin really working with the Center for Talent Development on data analysis that would give us a better picture of the needs of our students and our advanced learners. Who are these students? How many students do we have? And what is our data telling us that they need to continue to move forward? In addition to that, we would be engaging our stakeholders, which includes parents, our Board of Education, our administrators, our teachers, on working with them to see what their perceived needs are for the district in terms of our advanced learning programming. And then as a result of that, the major deliverable would be then from Northwestern is a recommendations report that we would be utilizing to help set the course then for the next phase of the work, which would actually be a lot of the implementation of it. So that would occur then next year in terms of potential staffing that we would need to budget for, professional development, curriculum materials, possibly rearranging schedules. So that would then give us next school year to put all of those pieces in place so that when we do go to fully implement, we are all set and we feel good with all of those pieces in place. So that, again, information is for you in the timeline. But I'm happy to answer any further questions that you might have regarding the recommendation.
Any questions for Dr. Johnson?
Just a quick comment. I want to thank Dr. Johnson and Dr. Cohn for taking the time to walk me through the proposal. It was really helpful to get that level of detail. And while I think we would all want something to come out sooner, I do think that your proposal that you came up with is the right approach. We need to do something well, and we don't want to hurry to put something together. So I think you did a very good job of getting us over that hurdle moving forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, sorry, Dr. Johnson, I should have gotten with you before now. Our strategic plan goes from 2023 to 2027. Is that right? I was just trying to look it up.
I
It was adopted in March of
2022.
So the 22nd from 2022 to 27. And we're talking about implementing this in the 26th school year, right? Is that right?
According to the timeline, we would be looking for full implementation in the 25-26 school year.
Sorry, this is.
Okay.
So our strategic plan goes through the 26-27 school year or 27-28 school year?
I would guess the 26-27 because we adopted in, I believe it was March of 22. So then it would take us through the end of the 26-27 school year. Sorry, Dr. Cohen, you can correct me. Okay.
So we're implementing our 5-year unit.
Correct.
I agree. I mean, I think that, I would like it faster if we could. I hope that when you, and considering the fact that we're paying money for a consultant and not, having our own administrators and teachers do that while they're trying to do everything else, I would expect that the time frame could happen quicker since we're paying somebody else on the outside to do that. As far as I know, is there new data that we're going to try to get, or is the data that we already
We will be utilizing the data that we currently have. They may make a recommendation that they would be wanting additional data. I can't speak to that because they have not looked at our data to know if they would need some additional information. But in terms of the initial work with the consultant, I do agree with you that that will be a big partnership where we wouldn't necessarily be the ones specifically digging into the data. But when it comes to the actual implementation of recommendations, the administration and the teachers will be heavily involved because they will be the ones that have to carry that out. And so in terms of professional development, curriculum material selection, building schedules, building administration, having to work those things through, while the consultant can make recommendations, it will really be our staff members that will have to, as well as the Board of Education, have to put those things into place, which a consultant cannot do for us because they wouldn't necessarily know our system per se, and our teachers will be the ones carrying that out, and so they will need that professional development, they will need that time to really understand the programming models that we're offering and the curriculum that they would be implementing in the classroom, potentially based on the recommendations.
So is it to be determined what we're looking? It's to be determined. We don't even have, do we have any idea?
No, it's really to be determined. The approach that we're taking is using our student data to drive the programming model for the district. Every district has different students and different needs, and so we're really trying to understand what are the Mokena students' needs based on our data to drive the programming model. You can go to many different districts with many different models, and so we did not want to just pluck things from other places without really understanding who our students are and what are we doing as a district that may or may not be meeting their needs, and basing then our programming model off of what our students need.
I would just request a couple of things. So, first of all, I appreciate the work that you guys have done on that, and I think it's really great for everybody. I'm happy that our students and our families have something in the trajectory that we see as in the plan. So I think this is really great, and it is important that we do it right. I think we should build into whatever plan you have how we're going to make sure every year that it's meeting what we want it to be, and how we can measure, is it succeeding or do we have to
Yes, that is definitely one of the deliverables that we have asked as a consultant, that they will provide us guidance in partnership with us in terms of how we would be measuring success of this program, not just after initial implementation, but then down the road as well, so we can keep an eye to make sure that the program is the way that we've designed is doing what we've intended it to do.
Right. So, the only other thing is, this comes from business, but, and I know it's different, but, if there's a way to have kind of scenario one, we try to implement it, in January of 2024, scenario two, we implement it in August of 2024, could we meet January 2024 if we really try for it, and then if we can't, then, plan B. So, try to get it out sooner, and then if we can't and it's not happening, then.
Yeah, we can definitely take your recommendation on that work. I'll rely on their recommendation as well in terms of timeline. I did put in here that if there is anything that the consultant can recommend for us to do at a quicker pace, that could happen beforehand. But again, not knowing exactly what will come out of the process, because we really do want it to be a collaborative process, not only with our data, but with our community and our stakeholders as well. So that whatever recommendations do come out, if there is something that can be implemented at a faster pace, we will definitely take that into consideration with the timeline. Any other questions?
Other questions, Dr. Johnson?
Okay. Next up is Mokena.
Good evening. So in my board report for this month, I shared that I had an opportunity for the first time since I've been here to meet with the entire special education department on the early release day in December. We reviewed new procedures and clarification of current practices that we will be implementing moving forward. I also, on that day, had an opportunity to meet with our health services staff, so all of our nursing staff in the 3 buildings, and we're going to be meeting regularly through the remainder of the school year. I also had an opportunity to have a meet and greet with our paraprofessional staff across the district to gain some understanding about their ideas of what our strengths and areas for growth will be. In addition, I've been working with our private parochial staff to educate them on what the public school responsibility is for special education child find under IDEA. And so I presented to all of the teachers to kind of go over some new procedures and ways that we're going to be collaborating moving forward. And finally, I have been working with our department on some staffing and recruiting and interviewing. I'm happy to report that we've filled 2 positions that were open and are looking forward to conducting interviews for the assistant, administrative assistant for the department and the director. That position was just posted a few days ago. That'll be coming in January and February. That's it, thanks.
Any questions for Ms. Mokena?
You're welcome.
Dr. Shaw.
Good evening again. At your table tonight, we have dried cherry. The additional information that is also available, you can see that it's one of the snacks that is in cafeterias, and it counts as a half cup of fruit in the National School Lunch Program. And so, in addition, as you may have heard, CPI cooled off a lot. It's going to stop at 3.5 for the year. We will have that number for 11/24 in January when the 23 ends. I've got some information tonight on electrical repairs. We're going to be issuing an RFP, requesting the board approve an RFP next month. We expect that number to be a little above 50,000, and that is our threshold for issuing an RFP. I do have a similar action item for similar repair for 2 units in MES on unit vents with an electrical repair. Anything above 12.5, we're looking for approval before we do that work. Of course, in case it's an emergency, but it hasn't been because the weather's been very cooperative with them. Speaking of that, we do have a snow plan in place, but we haven't needed it yet. I think we're going to have a 50-degree Christmas. And over the winter break, we'll be buffing the floors at MIS, and MJ, deep cleaning all the bathrooms in all the buildings. We're going to strip and wax the pre-K wing, and painting, we're going to paint pre-K in the entrance from entrance B up and down the ramp to entrance I at MES. And these 2 walls in MJ will be painted, and the lounge at MIS. Dave, where I paint your lounge. And then the other action item for tonight will be our workers' compensation renewal and approval of our tax levy 23. Any questions for me?
Questions, Dr. Shaw?
Okay, next up, Mr. Henson.
Hello, good evening.
I only had one item for today. Want to talk a little bit about or jump on the Project Lead the Way train here and Amazon Web Services. So just to give a short summary here, we realized that part of the Project Lead the Way, specifically the green architecture portion, would not run in our Chromebooks. Unfortunately, it's a Windows-only software, the Revit software that it utilizes. Left us with some options, and we like the Amazon Web Services route. I'd like to say a special shout out to Sentinel, Mr. Jonathan Link from Sentinel Technologies, who was the engineer who helped me out every week from the summer up until the week before they needed to use the software in 8th grade here at the junior high. We were able to get it up and running. This is really cutting edge stuff, so we're kind of trying to document everything that we can, and we're going to review everything that we did and see if we can make it better for next semester. And that's all I have. And do you have any questions on it?
Questions for?
Welcome.
Okay. Next up is principal reports. Usually it's the fight go first, but by process of elimination, Mr. McAtee, you go first, second, and third tonight.
So just for the record, I'm the only one who's on part for me.
Yeah.
So I have extra time. Just a couple quick highlights. Their graduation was phenomenal. It did a great job. Board members, I could attend that. Our first concert of the year was tremendous. We have a third of our enrollment is part of the music program, and then getting all the families and grandmas and grandpas and aunts and uncles and everybody in that building. We need a bigger gym. We were packed. We didn't have an open seat in the gym, and it was great. The kids did fabulous. The parents laughed at my jokes, so that's always a plus. So it was just a fun night. And I did have some links in there so that you get a chance to listen to it. There's some really good stuff. The last thing that I want to mention, we had our first movie night of the year last Friday night. It was phenomenal. We had some parents came in to help. We had some teachers come in. We had some other community members come in. We had over 200 kids. In the past, I think the highest number was around 130, 140. So we had 200 4th and 5th grade students laying around on the gym floor watching Home Alone, behaving themselves for the most part. So it was just a whole lot of fun. So thank you to everyone who was able to help out. It was a great event. We were able to raise some money for the Mokena family in need right now. We raised, kids brought in gift cards. So we raised $755 in gift cards for the family. So it was a great event all around. Speaking of concerts, if you are available Friday morning here at MJHS, they will do a holiday concert. I believe that starts at 8 o'clock, maybe here, for the junior high students. And then grades 3 through 5 are coming over for a concert at 9:30. So it's similar concerts, just for the two different buildings. So if you're available either at 8 or 9:30, stop on by. It's a great time to see all the kids and their wonderful musicianship. That's all I have. Any questions?
You were always such a good sport, and you get the kids excited. But I gotta wonder, how much do you and Tom charge to dress up as the ultimate shelf and get on top of the building? Because you make it fun for those kids. You're a real good sport about it. And I think that was so cool. So if you even mention it, I was over here looking for the picture for a second. But I thought it was a cool thing you guys did.
It's not just on top of the building. We have tinsel and flurry all around buildings now. So there'll be more pictures and videos being shared very soon. Students have seen lots and lots of pictures, but we're trying to keep it just within the building for now. But you guys have seen it.
Such a good sport.
It's fun.
I saw them today, so.
It's a lot of fun. Thank you, Jen.
And did you see the concert at MIS?
It's here. Yep, it's here. So 8 o'clock for the junior high, 9:30 for grades 3 through 5.
Any other questions for Mr. Manning?
Thank you.
Sole survivor. Okay, next up is Mrs. Bristow.
Good evening. For District 843, our finances are looking good over there, so there's nothing to report on that. But there's something really big to celebrate. With our SELF program, Ms. Romeo has turned the SELF program really phenomenal. So we'd really like to celebrate our SELF program, also our staff and teachers. Thank them. Just a little report that I handed out to the board. In August of 2022, out of the 21 students in SELF, 5 students pushed into one general education class, which is 24%. Out of those 5 students, only 1 student pushed into more than one general education class. In January of 2023, out of 25 students in SELF, 8 students pushed into one general education class, which is 13%. Out of those 8 students, 4 students pushed into more than one general class. In August of 2023, out of 28 students in SELF, 8 students pushed into one gen ed class. Out of those 8 students, 3 pushed into more than one gen ed class. Starting in January 2024, more than 50% of students in SELF will be pushing into at least one gen ed class. And out of those 16 students, 8 of them will be pushing into more than one. Last year, we had 2 students transition back into their home school. And we are looking forward to transition for another 4 to 6 students back to their home school. So, you see Mr. Romeo and all the staff and teachers working on there. Please thank them for all the hard work they're putting into our children there.
Questions from Ms. Bristow? Okay. It's an order request, before them, action request. Ready? Okay, got these ready. All right, approval of the previous minutes.
Move to approve the previous minutes for the November 15th, 2023 regular session and closed session meetings as presented.
Second by Lisa. Please turn on your mics.
Oh, sorry.
Turn on the mics. Okay, any discussion? All right, please call the vote.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yes?
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. O's?
Yes.
Mrs. Tony? Yes. Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Next up is just district bills, and I had the luxury of looking at the bills. I asked several questions to Dr. Shaw. She answered all of them, so I move to approve the monthly bills as presented. Anna, any discussion? Please call the vote.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. O's?
Yes.
Mrs. Tony?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Okay, motion passed. Next up is personnel.
I move to approve personnel recommendations. 7C, 1 through 6 as presented, subject to successful background check. Second.
Second by Julie. Any discussion? Please call the vote.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. O's?
Yes.
Mrs. Tony?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes. Okay, motion passed. Next up is the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda items D 1 through 2 as presented.
Second by Jim. Any discussion? Please call the vote.
Mrs. O's?
Yes.
Mrs. Tony?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Next up is approval of the tax levy.
Oh, come on. All right, I'm gonna go for it. It's a long sucker. I move that the board adopts a certificate of tax levy resolution for the 2023 levy in the amounts of
Education Fund, 14,500,000. Building Operations and Maintenance Fund, 4,200,000. Transportation Fund, 600,000. Working Cash Fund, 100,000. Municipal Retirement Fund, 150,000. Social Security Fund, 150,000. Port Immunity Fund, 1,000. Special Education Fund, 775,000 as presented in the 2023 Certificate of Tax Levy. The district is in compliance with the Truth in Taxation Act, so I move that the board authorize the president to sign the Certificate of Compliance with the Truth in Taxation Act for the 2023 levy.
Got it. All right. Second. For second.
I think you should read the whole thing.
Second by Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the vote.
Mrs. Tenney? Yes. Mrs. Zelinski?
Yeah.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ost?
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Next up is the MES electrical repair.
I move to approve the Mokena Elementary School first grade electrical repair in the amount not to exceed $13,629 as presented.
Second by Lisa. Any discussion? Please call the vote.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ost?
Yes.
Mrs. Tenney? Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Next up is the approval for enrichment consultant.
Move to approve the administration's recommendation to partner with Northwestern University Center for Talent Development for the next steps in strategic goal 1C as presented.
Second.
Second by Anna. Any discussion? Okay, please call the vote.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ost?
Yes.
Mrs. Tenney?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Next up is the approval of the safety and crisis plan.
I move to approve the safety and crisis plan as presented.
Second by Jim. Any discussion?
Yes. So I just want to explain, I'm going to vote no on this, and I just want to explain why. That's okay? Yeah. So our board policy, and again, you know, I tried to do this kind of with a safety committee, but I just want to, you know, say again that last month we didn't choose to go forward with the safety committee, so I feel compelled to do it now while the plan is for approval by the board. The plan, there's a couple things. So I'm just going to list the reasons why I'm not going to approve this. I feel the plan is missing a section on security that our board policy says we should address in the plan. It's not there. The plan is missing a section on safe bus riding practices pursuant to our board policy, which is not in the plan. The fire drill Safety Act of Illinois, which is a law, says that we need to have procedures for when a child opts out of a lockdown drill, which we're now putting parents the choice to do that, but we don't have procedures in there for training those students on basically what they'll be missing through with the walkthrough. In addition, our relocation assembly sites are not defined in the plan. The reunification procedures are not defined in the plan. And I think the most important thing is that our annual safety meeting, the purpose of that is to train the plan. And we had that safety meeting in August, and now we're revising the plan in November. So I think we should take the opportunity to retrain this, to rehab the safety meeting, to have the safety meeting again, to retrain at all the new procedures. which is why I will not be approving, I will not vote to approve Wednesday.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, Kathy, please call the vote.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yes?
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
No.
Mrs. Ost?
Yes.
Mrs. Tony? Yes. Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Items for the January meeting? Dr. Shaw, you always have something.
I will have the action request to issue the RFP for electrical work and an information item on an RFP for auditing services.
Anything else? All right, let's go quick meeting. We'll see. Next, for the good Mokena. Whoa. Sorry, got excited for good Mokena. All right, what do we got?
Yeah.
Something.
I'm actually glad you guys are still here. We love talking about it, but it's at the very end of the meeting, and quite honestly, after public comments left. We all understand it, but it's nice you're all here. We got pretty good in this town. We really do. We got a lot of good people that are helping our students in these walls at various levels. That's always appreciated. We have a lot of people sitting in this room that are reaching beyond themselves and helping out people that need it. It's easily overlooked, but about 20% of our local population is below the poverty line. Mokena Lions Club has been trying to help out with that through our various fundraising activities. Thank you for the help on that. We donated 25 families worth of food, and we delivered that last Sunday, including 3 veterans in our community that needed help. We also raised an additional $1,000 worth of gift cards. One of the other guys suggested we do 800, and we rounded that up. And that money has gone directly to help our students this time of year. Fortunately, we all sort of family that is going through something we hope no one ever has to go through. The community has stood up and helped them in various ways. And whether you're helping out Mokena Miracles, Lions Club, or something else, thanks for making things a little bit nicer around here. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, God bless, take care. Yeah.
I do one more thing. With all 3 buildings, we collected $2,000 cash. And an abundance of cards. We don't have a total, but they're great. We just that is
Yep, I just wanted to say thank you for sticking around. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and if it snows, remember to dig out your fire hydrant. PSA. So I know that the fire department does appreciate that, but no, have fun. I do wish for snow, and so just enjoy it. And thank you again for being here.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to our staff and everybody that works so hard every day here for students. I hope everybody has a great holiday break and time off.
If it's okay, I'd like to dovetail off of something Jim mentioned. We have, want to give a shout out to our social workers. They actually do a lot this time of year to make sure that our families that need a little help get referred to organizations that can help them. For example, Fish, the Lions Club with their food basket deliveries last weekend. A lot of those families that they help their students in our schools is appreciated. We did have a line reach out to me. I reached out to one of our social workers here, and we did have one family kind of missed the deadline, but the social workers had to get that reference. And so when Jim refers to that, those gift cards, I was able to help that family out to get some warm clothing for the kids and Christmas presents. And I got to tell you, it's a blessing to be in a community where people help each other out. And it was a great bucket filler for me to be able to do that for that family. So thank you, the Lions.
Okay, anything else for the good Mokena? All right, then I move that the Board of Education adjourn to closed session for purposes of the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of employees and collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives. No action after closed session. There's
You can have it happen.
All right, Sam second. Any discussion, control vote?
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan? Mrs. Ost?
Yes.
Mrs. Tenney?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski? Yes. Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Driscoll?
Okay, motion passed. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. It's 9:43. We come back in 12 minutes at.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, right?